Which requel did it better? Let's get into it. Within the last 6 years, both the Halloween and Scream franchises, two of the most popular slasher franchises of all time, got the requel treatment. But which film did it better? It's time for Halloween 2018 versus Scream 2022. Now, I want a clean and fair match here between Halloween 2018 and Scream 2022. These are two franchises that like to get dirty. To decide which one we're gonna talk about first, let's do ourselves a good old-fashioned coin flip. So I'm gonna call this one in the air. Halloween is going to be heads. And it's heads. For those of you who don't believe me, there you go. Look at that. You can't really see it because of the reflection, but take my word for it. Halloween 2018 is an excellent franchise revival that hones in on the tone of what made that original film great. It also upgrades the kills and the characters to tell a more modern story. Starting right from the opening scene, I immediately like the character of Dr. Sartain, which is a hot take out the gate. I don't like that he puts on Michael's mask, but I like that he's not just the same character as Dr. Loomis. He wants to see Michael out in the wild to see what he'll do with Laurie Strode. That's really fascinating to me. One of my favorite elements to Halloween 2018 is everybody's obsession with Michael. They all want to see him do something human to understand him. We'll talk more about that later, but something I don't like about this opening scene is the fact that when the mask gets pulled out, it's almost like this evil energy radiates from it. This is a theme throughout all three of David Gordon Green's movies, that like the mask has some kind of evil aura to it. I'm just not crazy about this. This is like Halloween 6 all over again, and that movie was a flop. In fact, there's a cut of that movie, arguably both cuts, that don't really make any sense to begin with. So why we're borrowing from that, I'm not really sure. It's that fundamental misunderstanding of what makes Michael scary that really ruins that third entry in this DGG trilogy. It's not the mask that makes him scary. It's an iconic look, that's for sure. If we're talking fashion, Michael Myers wins that contest. But what's scary about Michael is he was just this kid who decided to stop talking and stab his sister in the tits. Most of Halloween 2018 understands that, but by the time we get to the third entry, that's when all of that goes out the window. I might be in the minority on this one, but I really enjoy the peanut butter on my penis goofy dialogue throughout this entire film. It beats whatever the hell is going on in those Rob Zombie movies, because half of those characters are illegible or so angry and pissed off at each other that it's not even fun to watch. Another hot take from Ref Jake here, but this is the best performance we've ever gotten from Laurie Strode, bar none. Jamie Lee Curtis is fantastic in the original, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like she's working with slightly better material here. It's the difference between a teen girl who's mostly dealing with boy problems the entire movie in the original film versus a recluse, maybe 60-something Laurie Strode who's been traumatized her entire life and has been in hiding, ruined her family, ruined her life nearly. That's way more interesting to watch. I might get canceled after that take. Woo! Oh shit! But this is by far my favorite performance from Jamie Lee Curtis in any of the Halloween movies. She kills it here. I'm gonna have to agree with our new final girl here, Allison Nelson, who says that Laurie and Michael being siblings absolutely sucks. I'm paraphrasing, but it sucks. Although I have that criticism about the mask having this evil aura or whatever, I do really like that Halloween 2018 takes us back mostly to the horror of the original, where it's just the mystery of this guy killing people again. There's no connections between the characters. This is just a random act of violence that unfortunately happened back in 1978, and now it's happening again 40 years later. That is way scarier to me than having a secret brother who just is relentlessly coming after you and killing you. In this scenario, Michael Myers could happen to anybody, which is why that one take makes me want to cream my pants. That is so good. Michael just walking through houses in Haddonfield, stabbing people and totally getting away with it because it's Halloween night. He's not out of place because he's in a weird costume. Mwah! Christopher Nelson's effects on this movie are so good. Cameron Elam is an excellent side antagonist. He is that guy that you love to hate. Within the span of 5 minutes, Cameron cheats on his girlfriend and throws her phone into some nacho cheese. So this guy is an absolute piece of dog shit. But Dylan Arnold plays him well, let me tell you. In all three of the David Gordon Green Halloween films, we'll cut to just some random side characters who will then get killed by the time you fall in love with them. Take Lumpy and his dad here, for instance. We cut to them driving in their truck together when Lumpy says that he's missing dance class to go hunt with his dad out in the woods. He loves spending time with his dad, but he also loves dancing. That's kind of his thing right now. His dad responds by saying, "But don't you like going out into the woods and being a man and hunting, fighting grizzly bears with your bare hands?" He doesn't say that, but I imagine if this conversation kept going, it would probably lead to that. This conversation is cut short though when they find the bus that has crashed that was on its way to Glass Hill. kill. These characters both die viciously at the hands of Michael Myers. It's an excellent kill, and it's a great way to move the plot forward. It's something that happens a lot in all three of these movies. It almost always pushes the plot forward and almost always gives us a great kill too. It's a little repetitive, but I never get sick of it because these side characters are always great. But of course, Big John and Little John will always be my favorites. I was blown away watching this opening night, seeing some of the kills in this, especially compared to the original, which are a little lackluster, but are great because of the way they set them up. The John Carpenter classic will always be my favorite from this franchise, but Halloween 2018 does do some things better. Julian is another side character that stands out in my mind a lot. I love his banter with Vicky, but speaking of Vicky, I think her kill is really stupid. She slips on nothing. Michael should never say anything in any of these movies because it totally ruins the illusion of his character, but if there is one time that he should break his character, it should have been this moment, and he should have just said, "Too easy." I'm totally kidding. There's some forced parallels in Halloween 2018 from the OG. It doesn't really get too egregious until you get to the point where Laurie Strode falls off the balcony and then Michael Myers looks away, looks back, and she's gone. All of the Strode women having a hand in trapping Michael Myers in the basement is awesome, but it's almost ruined by the fact that Karen quotes Star Wars right at the end of this little sequence.
It's not a cage, baby. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
I love the ending of Halloween 2018 because it's triumphant and aesthetically pleasing. I mean, you're literally watching Michael Myers just stand there as the bars trap him in the basement while everything burns. That's awesome. It's a gorgeous shot. It's probably one of the most iconic from this entire franchise. I'm a little more fascinated in the idea that everyone in Haddonfield and the majority of the characters you see on screen here are obsessed with seeing something human come from Michael. So what if instead they were able to trap Michael Myers in that basement, and the ending of this movie is Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, going down there, rapping her knuckles, and just beating the ever-loving shit out of Michael, screaming, "Say something, Michael! Say something!" It's full circle, alpha and omega, baby. Every time I watch this movie, I just feel like that would be a slightly better ending, and much more sad than the ending we got. Obviously, we wanted something a little more triumphant. There was a different ending to Halloween 2018 before they reshot it, but I just feel like that would have been a little more powerful, driving home the themes of this film even further. Now let's talk a little bit about Scream 2022, or just Scream 5 to make this a little easier. Unlike Halloween 2018, Scream 5 is a linear connection to the previous 4 films, but also kind of acts as a requel by introducing new characters to be the focal point. This has been a big criticism of Scream 5, that people wanted to see Sidney as the focal point again. But to me, moving into Scream 5, I really did not want them to focus on the same character again, especially considering that Screams 3 and 4 just has some major stretches to make those stories work. I love Scream 4 to death, and before 5 and 6 came out, it was my favorite sequel. But the fact that Sidney had cousins in Woodsboro and all that, it's just a bit of a stretch in my opinion. It just feels really inorganic to me versus Scream 5's approach, which is just focusing on other characters in Woodsboro who also have a ghost face problem. Scream 5 takes a step away from the soap opera writing, but unfortunately we introduce our main final girl as being Billy's secret daughter. That kinda hasn't aged well for me, especially considering that we see Ghost Billy throughout the majority of this film. That's kinda whack, but Melissa Barrera's amazing performance definitely makes up for it. I love the commentary on both elevated horror and toxic fandom in Scream 5. Getting back to what makes Scream so good, commentary on the horror genre. There's unfortunately only a few movies in this franchise that do that really well. Like in Scream 2, for instance, you push the sequel commentary aside to tell a story more so about Billy's mother that's angry that her good boy died. Scream 5 might not be the best written Scream film, but its commentary is one of the sharpest in any of these movies by far. This is a weird criticism of Scream 5, but I think it absolutely has the worst soundtrack out of any of the Scream films. Scream 6 was definitely an improvement, but nothing is ever going to beat the nu metal soundtrack of Scream 3. Oh, top shelf, baby. So good. One of the best horror movie soundtracks out there. I'll die on that hill. Some have said that the legacy characters are underutilized in Scream 5. I kind of agree, I kind of don't agree. I love pretty much every scene with Gale Weathers or Dewey Riley, especially the scenes where they're together, that are incredibly emotional, especially if you're a fan of this franchise. Maybe it's the nostalgia talking, but I think this sequence where Dewey and Gale reconcile a bit is really well directed. And of course, Dewey's death is heartbreaking, but necessary in my opinion, considering another criticism of the previous 2 Scream films, that none of the main 3 characters could die. They finally did it here in 5. The creatives behind this movie had some balls to do this, and I have nothing but respect for them. The new characters are often criticized as being boring, but I think they're serviceable. Are they maybe some of the worst side characters in any Scream film? I mean, yeah, but in Scream 6, a lot of them get better. Mindy, though, not so much. Get ready for a whole-ass rant, because I absolutely love Amber Freeman, and I think the criticism towards her sucks. People are so mad that a teenage girl killed Dewey Riley, but here's the thing. Anybody wielding a knife can kill you. It doesn't matter if you're The Rock or John Cena. If a child came at them unexpectedly with a knife, they would still get stabbed. Some of you don't want to hear this, but a knife is still a knife no matter who's holding it. Dewey is an old man who hasn't been on the force in a very long time, as we saw in the introduction of Scream 5, and she stabs him twice in the back and the front. Not only that, but she had the drop on him because he wasn't paying attention because his phone just went off. This is written really well in my opinion. I think some fans are just upset that Dewey died. Melissa Barrera's acting is also criticized a lot in Scream 5. I don't get that either. I think she's amazing in this. She's a great start to a final girl because in a lot of ways, she's kind of the opposite of Sidney Prescott. She makes completely different decisions than Sidney did in that first movie, which makes her much more of an interesting character. Pushing aside the whole being Billy's daughter thing, everything else about her character is really cool here. And one of the biggest things that we all love about Scream films is the big reveal at the end. Who's behind the mask? One of the reveals is fantastic, in Amber being one of the best reveals in the entire franchise. Had my jaw on the ground the first time I saw it, which is unfortunately countered with a very lackluster and maybe one of the most obvious reveals in the entire franchise, with Richie Kirsch just stabbing Sam in the side. Scream 5 is a weird one because it showcases a lot of the best and the worst from this franchise. Amber's reveal is super shocking and really unexpected. She just shoots another character in the face out of nowhere. They've never revealed a Ghostface killer like this before, which makes it really shocking. But then Richie is painfully obvious this entire movie. Of course Jack Quaid is the killer. He's way too cute not to be. Now let's compare these two requels and decide which one brought their franchise back better. While I don't hate the way that Scream 2022 brought back its characters, I think Halloween 2018 just simply did a better job, showcasing Laurie Strode in a much better light than what they did with Sidney Prescott in Scream 5. You're never gonna beat Sidney's performance in the original Scream though, which is why you can't really be too hard on Scream 2022 for trying. Halloween 2018 did the impossible by giving us a better Jamie Lee Curtis performance than what we got in the original, in my opinion. Scream 2022 also features some of the best kills from that franchise, but nothing beats Christopher Nelson's kills in Halloween 2018. I mean, come on, that neck snap, dude? Ugh, that's nasty, and we didn't even see it happen. Halloween 2018 even features a really good twist in the character of Dr. Sartain. Like I said, that shot with him putting on the mask absolutely sucks, but the twist itself is still pretty good. And don't forget about the Sartain head stomp. Ugh, we knew twists were coming in Scream 2022, which maybe makes them a little more predictable. James Jude Courtney gives an unforgettable performance as Michael Myers in Halloween 2018, where Ghostface is just kind of doing his usual shtick in Scream 5. Roger L. Jackson's vocal performance, though, is maybe one of the best in the entire franchise here in Scream 5. At least it's definitely better than Scream 3, where he's barely even featured. But overall, I think the crown jewel for slasher movie requels has to go to Halloween 2018, baby. I love Scream 5, and it's responsible for this new resurgence of Scream films that we're getting, if we even get 7, that is. But Halloween 2018 is just one of the best Halloween films, arguably the best in some circles. KO from Halloween 2018! Now that's just my opinion on Halloween 2018, but the community has a chance to overturn this decision and give Scream 2022 the dub. When this video gets posted, a poll will go out to my patrons saying who really won this competition, Scream 2022 or Halloween 2018. The community has 1 week to decide who actually wins this competition and whose franchise will get some points on the board. Oh yeah, we're keeping track of the points, baby. As of right now in the Versus series on this page, we've only compared 2 franchises, the Halloween franchise and the Scream franchise. Halloween currently has the first point, but you can overturn that decision by becoming a patron now by clicking on the link in the description below. All patrons will have access to these polls, and if Scream 2022 gets more votes within the next week, in the next Versus video, I will announce that this film is the actual winner of the competition. Which movie do you think should win? Leave me something about it in the comments and become a patron to potentially reverse the vote. Thank you so much for watching the first episode in the Versus series on this channel. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more slasher movie content like this. Please consider supporting me on Patreon by clicking the link in the description below, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.